Crossroads, glad that you're here. Hope that you're here. Are you here? I don't know if you're here. This is really strange. It's cool because on a Wednesday night, usually Wednesday night about 5:30, 5:45, I sit there and look at a room that only has a couple of students there, and I'm like, oh my gosh, is anybody coming? Well, today I know that none of you are going to be here, but I'm hoping that you'll be tuning in here. Hope you did yesterday. Today, if you started following yesterday and you saw the devotion that we were going to start doing, it's right there now. Excuse me. That devotion we're doing is going to tie into what our new series is going to be tonight at 6:30. Excuse me, peanut butter on the YouTube channel. You're going to see a message from me. I'm looking next week. I'm going to be contacting some of you to get involved with it next week. It's going to be interesting the way that we're going to do that. But anyway, it's talking about anxiety. And as I was reading it this morning, I read it yesterday, and then I looked at it again this morning, and I thought, you know, that's good. That's good. So many things in our life make us anxious. I think maybe a better way to say that is it causes us fear. And I would say that even as an adult, there are things that bring fear to me. Now, I will say this. I'm not scared of much, and it's not that I'm bad or I'm tough or I'm all swole monkey or anything. I just don't really get scared. I get surprised. Somebody jump out from behind the door, they'll be like, ha! And I get surprised. I ain't scared of them. Snakes. Snakes scare me. I don't care how big it is. If it's an earthworm and it's moving toward me, that thing's a snake. And y'all remember a couple years ago at the beach retreat, I saved everybody's life because I killed a snake. That's right, saved your life. I might have wet my pants a little bit, but I hate snakes. I just, and I know there's a reason for them. No. Anyway. That's something that brings fear into my heart, into my mind, but it's not something that I'm anxious about. And so I started thinking about this a couple of months ago, and I was talking to Miss Jessica about it, and I said, you know, things that make us anxious. And she said, yeah, and it's something that I deal with, anxiety. And I asked her, I said, well, do you think teenagers are anxious about anything? And she said, well, yeah. And I said, well, what? And so tonight we're going to be addressing that, but I wanted us to start getting our mind wrapped around anxiety. And as the author was writing this morning, or he didn't write it this morning, but when he wrote it and I was reading it this morning, he brought out the point. He says, I'm not going to try to tell you that there's a magic cure for it, but here are some of the things that I have used. And he's going to, for the next 6 days, he's going to take us through steps that God has revealed to him to help him through this time. And I'll tell you this, I found something the other day. One of our former students posted something on Facebook, and it genuinely helped me out. And so these times when you're anxious, I had a moment, and I was just like, man, and I saw this video, and it helped me. So I want you to do this video real quick. Sometimes one of the best things we can do is just take a deep breath. It calms us. But God gives us words to help us. God's book, his holy word, is meant for instruction for our life. It's meant for correction in our life. It's meant for hope. And a lot of times people say that they feel hopeless. And a lot of times people can get into that valley to where you feel like there's no way out. But one of the things I found is that when I realize I'm not by myself, when I realize I'm not alone, that helps me out a lot. When Bear was young, when he was real young, and we had just moved out to the country, and I'd be like, hey, buddy, will you carry the garbage out? Will you go feed your dog? Whatever it was outside. If it was nighttime, he would say, hey, will you watch me? And it became kind of a joke for me, and it's not that I'm being mean, but I would say things like, so what are you going to do? He was like, I'm going to feed the dog. You want me to watch you do that? Yes, sir. And it wasn't that he needed me to see him. He just had comfort knowing that he wasn't by himself. And I think we spoke about this the other day, about this time that we're going through as a world. The 23rd Psalm talks about how the psalmist tells us, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you are with me. And I don't know if you're NIV, I don't know if you're ESV, I don't know what version you read, but that's the way that it makes sense to me, is that even though I'm walking through this valley, in the valley of the shadow of death, it's called a wadi. Really interesting thing about that. But when I'm walking through this valley, you're with me. To know that you're not walking into something by yourself. And I think that's one of the things that you as a teenager, you as a parent, me as a parent and a youth pastor, we've got to make sure we've got people that we can trust, that we can lean on. And so there are people that can be with us, but there are times when you are essentially by yourself. But you don't have to be alone, because God is there. But the question is do you rely on God during these times? Or are you focusing on what the world tells you the cure is, or what your friends tell you the cure is, or what maybe your youth pastor is telling you need to do? There's something to be said about you getting alone with God, spending that time with God and allowing Him to direct you. In Psalm 34, he recorded this. It says, I sought the Lord and He answered me. He delivered me from all my fears. There is deliverance, and it doesn't matter what you're going through. And I don't say that lightly. I understand that there are many things that you face. There are many trials that you go through as teenagers, as parents, as adults. In the world we live in, you're going to face trials. And of course, Jesus tells us to take heart. He has overcome the world. And yes, that's true. But He didn't overcome it so He could just walk around and say, hey, I've made it through. It's no big deal. He overcame it so He can help us get through it. As we said the other day, God is not only here with us, He's on the other side of this. And I believe that He's just reaching out His hand. And for all of us that would accept His hand to help pull us through this time, He's going to grant us that. So the question is, what are you afraid of? What brings you anxiety? And what helps you through it? I'm looking forward to our message tonight. Don't forget, 6:30, you'll get a remind message about it. Excited about what God's doing here at Crossroads. It's really strange right now, but I believe that during this time, as my alarm goes off to pray for you, that's right, it's 11 o'clock when I'm recording this, I don't even know what I was talking about, because right now all I can think about is I need to pray for you. I need to pray for our world. I need to pray for this virus situation. So I'm going to do that, and I'll see you at 6:30 tonight. I love you, Crossroads.